Everybody got me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Awesome. Well, we are in our final stages here before actual game week. Classes start on Monday. We'll actually practice a little bit on Sunday, but today was a big review day and a lot of different special situations that could happen during the course of the game. Whether it be Nebraska or UTSA or Virginia or whoever that lays in front of our schedule, they're kind of those special scenarios that come up in a game, and you talk through them, work through them, but you don't have time to hit them on a weekly basis. Make our players aware of it and understand them. Tomorrow we'll actually do a mock game in the stadium where we'll have it be as real gets as far as to communicate. We're not going to have full goal tackling. It's not tackling, but we'll have our guys in uniforms. We'll have our guys appropriately placed on the sideline. We'll have the coaches in the press boxes. We'll have all of the moving parts of a normal game day operation taking place right at normal game time. That it'll be 8 days out from that on the 28th. So we'll do it on that Friday, give the guys a chance to do a mock game, get some recovery in that afternoon. We'll meet with them. They'll come in Saturday, do a little soft tissue recovery, and then have the rest of the day off. And then Sunday we'll bring them in the middle of the day. They have a welcome reception for all student athletes, and then we'll meet with them again in the evening. And then Monday starts accountable activity. So the game week will get here sooner or later. We voted for captains last night. I'll announce those guys. I'll announce captains later today to the team, and then we'll release that to the general public afterwards. And then tonight we actually go to our normal pregame meal, or the night before the game meal at Champaign Country Club. We'll take it to the hotel, simulate all of our meetings in the hotel tonight that we will be doing next Friday of Nebraska preparation. And then tomorrow morning, we'll have our pregame meal at the same exact time. We'll be having it a week from then to simulate the meal and the mental preparation to get ready for the kickoff on the 28th. So a lot of mechanics, some works in progress. How we're going to enter the buses, how we're going to get off the buses, how we're going to enter the stadium, how we're going to go to the locker room, how we're going to come out of the locker room. Just a lot of moving parts that I think our kids are locked into, because all of that stuff matters. So with that, we've actually stayed, again, pretty healthy, getting a couple guys back. Some of the guys who were limited from the scrimmage went out there and practiced the last couple of days and should hit the ground running pretty good by Sunday for everybody to be involved in the game week preparation. Probably only one on the outside looking in, maybe Marquise Beeson. Marquez is continuing to make good progress, but I just don't think he'll be there for the opener. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. Just raise your hand whenever you want to go.
Yeah, Bret, I'll lead it off. Thanks a lot. So I kind of wanted to ask you, I guess it was media day when you kind of mentioned that George McDonald was leading this history lesson kind of thing for your players on the history of Illinois football. Obviously, he had played here, and I think that probably made it easy for you to select him to kind of take that responsibility. But why is it so important for you to have a coach to teach the history of this place to your players?
Yeah, great question. We all, stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, right? And in big picture and little picture, right? So, we all play college football. I coach college football. So, obviously, I'm very respectful of the coaches that came and preceded me here at the University of Illinois, but also just college football coaches in general, right? Like I've read, I don't know how many books about different coaches in this profession, whether it be college or NFL, people that I can learn from, high school coaches, Division III coaches, anybody that we can learn from as coaches. That's just kind of the way I'm wired. So whatever I've gone to a place, right? Like I've said from our opening press conference to where we are today, we need to represent the people of Illinois, right? Those are alumni, those are donors, those are fans, those are people that live in the community. It's also people that live in California, right? It's everyone from A to Z. And for me to have a coach speak on that, there was no one better that represented that than Gio. He's extremely detail oriented, but he also, walked the walk here and is tremendously affected by his time here at Illinois, even before he came here from NC State. He always refers to that he's a big part of what he's been able to accomplish in life is because of the things he learned here in Champaign as a student athlete.
And then to follow up with that, you mentioned, him having those experiences as a student athlete when he was here. You kind of look at these players, and you mentioned getting a FaceTime from the players up in the colonnades. If you could say the names of that, I'd appreciate it. But what was that like for you to kind of really see your players kind of take it in and experience it for the first time? Really kind of like seeing it in person, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think they would be offended if I told them it was DJ and OC. They commonly swing by my office occasionally and just kind of talk about everything other than football. It's a pretty good relationship that goes back and forth. So when they FaceTime me in the middle of the afternoon, I was kind of like, what is going on here? And it was just kind of one of those moments. But it does give me a great indication of what they're thinking about, right? Like, one of the greatest moments for me this summer was going over to B1G Media Days, and in the car I had the guys with me, right? So up in the front seat was Velo, OC was in the back right, and behind me was Kramer, and those guys just talk football. Even when I there's a couple times I had to take a phone call or I was engaged with something from a conversation other than what they were having, and they were all always talking football. And it's been referenced to me a lot of times when our coaches have been around our players in a non-football environment, how much they talk about football. We began to attack our team goals last night, and the guys rattled off over 30 goals. Obviously, we're not going to be at that number, but I could tell by the way they were communicating to me, they've really listened to what we've talked about. So when you get all these little X factors, kind of pointing in one direction, I don't know when things are going to change. I don't know when the worm is going to turn, but it's going to happen, and hopefully it's going to happen sooner than later.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
But as you wrap up training camp and head towards this Nebraska prep, how much of your install did you get in, and how comfortable do you feel with what you've been able to do so far in that?
Brett, I would say that, everybody kind of wants to know how much your install, how much your playbook, right? Like we install our playbook as our players learn it, right? So we can't get from the way I'm kind of wired is I can't just put 20 things in there and say, learn it. It's a process, right? They got to learn 1 through 5 to make 6 happen, right? And in our offense, run game feeds passing game or vice versa. They're all intertwined. So we did a really nice job, in my opinion, as coaches, adapted to our athletes, adapted to our students, and how they've learned and how they regurgitated. Obviously, put a spin on the last couple of weeks about our opening game against Nebraska and kind of what that meant, offense, defense, and special teams. But I'm very happy with what we've put in and installed, because I think they know it very, very well. And then as we game plan and we get closer to certain games, then you're allowed to tweak it and put in what you need to get done. But for the most part, everything we needed to get in is in.
Obviously, you still have more game plan to do for Nebraska, but if you had to play today, would you feel ready to go? Like your team is up to where you want them to be?
Obviously there's a steady crescendo, but I get the question, we're as ready as we need to be, or as prepared to be, going into the last weekend before game week preparation. I can't put it any other than that. I've known that we've had X number of practices to get things done. There's a reason today's practice. Yesterday was a very hard, intense, even though it was a Wednesday, it was a Tuesday practice for us, in the mentality of the way we will prepare during the course of the week. It's Tuesday and Wednesdays for us in a normal game week have to be the most intense, hardworking days of the week. And yesterday was a really hard, grinded out day. And I knew that we needed a day today to kind of back off a little bit, because tomorrow is going to be a pretty intense day with the mock game. So I know how to build it, back off, and move forward. And they've responded very, very well.
Thanks.
Yep.
Bret, I know you haven't known him very long, but what have you learned about Dylan Thomas and the decision to keep him around as a student assistant moving forward?
Yeah. Joey, again, it's amazing to me at every year or every moment, every week, whatever you want to say, like how many times the world is connected, right? So DT is a guy that literally my first day on the job, I saw him sitting, he was getting a COVID test, and I was with a couple administrative people, and they said, hey, that's Dylan Thomas, and his dad, Ryan Thomas. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know BT, right? And his dad and I had met several years ago, back when I was at the University of Wisconsin, and Had no idea that his son was on the team as a player. So it literally just kind of crossed then. And so as I got here, he had gone through some surgeries. I just felt he needed something to kind of have a change of pace, a different direction. I suggested that maybe he moved to defense, and it kind of, gave him a new little lift on life. And he switched, rehab, did everything he's supposed to do. And then this fall, there was a little play where he extended and reached out for a ball, and unfortunately had his shoulder injured again. And I knew the emotional reaction out of him that it probably was going to be one of those moments that defined whether or not he was going to play ball anymore. So I brought him in and showed him the avenue that could be available for him to join us as a student assistant coach. He's a very intelligent, great football IQ. His care factor for the University of Illinois is through the roof. I don't know exactly what he's going to do in life later on. I know he's studying business and got different things that he's had on his radar. But for us right now in the short term, I would say in the last 5 days as a student assistant coach, he's been off the charts. He's a Monticello product that, had some ties here locally as well before that just, I've been very impressed with him and excited to walk this new chapter with him. He'll be involved with us on every day of every practice, home and away games. And we're going to utilize that NCAA rule to use him as a student athlete coach as much as we can.
If I could get one housekeeping one, you expected everybody to be fully vaccinated by the game. The 2 weeks would have been this past Saturday. Are you guys still on track for that?
Yeah, we have a number. I believe that we're under 5 now. We're right at that wheelhouse. But the 70, the guys that we're going to travel with, I'm pretty sure there's only one guy in that works that hasn't got his second one. Everybody in the building has had a first shot. I know we're waiting on, I believe it's 5 or 6 guys to get their second one as we go forward.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, I know he's on a maintenance plan, but I'm just wondering, when Alex Palczewski is on the field, what does he give your team?
He's been probably one of the true highlights of fall camp, right? So we hadn't had a chance to work with him as coaches. I mean, you love Palcho, right? I know you guys know him and you've been around him. You feel that energy, that excitement. So to get with him this fall and to get him into practices, and then the first scrimmage we had on that Monday, we let him go. I believe he played somewhere around 15 snaps, and you could tell, it's been a long time since he played football, right? So every day you literally see him make a jump. And then I would say this past Monday, when we had our second and last scrimmage, his play went to another level again, and just it's good to see a big guy like that work. But the other thing that's been awesome, Julian Pearl and the guys that are playing his position when he's not in there, he's working with them every day, giving them instruction, giving them guidance. So he's absolutely been awesome. We'll really, I think, take full advantage of having him and Badarian as 2 edge players on the offensive line and be very, very solid at that position.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, kind of a 2-part question here. First of all, just don't know if you have any thoughts. I know you have your own team to worry about, but any thoughts you wanted to share about the Nebraska situation, but also just for you, what you've learned about kind of developing a thick skin, learning how to handle the rigors of being a head coach at the Power 5 level. If you want to, if you could offer some thoughts on what you've learned about that over the years.
Well, I said this to Josh from day one, right? I believe I was, 34 or 35 when I found out I was going to become a head coach. It took a while to transition, obviously, because I was a head coach in waiting. And now to be 51 years old and entering my 13th year as a head coach, I know I'm better today than I was in that first year. That first year we went 12-1 and, had a lot of really good things happen. But I know there was definitely some things that first year that I look back upon and I know I could have made better decisions and done better things, to give our guys a better chance on Saturdays. And that part, you can't ever put a price tag on. The value of learning football by playing football is just, it's just overwhelming, right? Like what you can learn. And then today I showed our guys, we did a little football 1-on-1 in our early meeting this morning. And it was really, I took the Hall of Fame game from when Pittsburgh was playing Dallas, right? It was the first game of the college football year. And there's one of the things that can happen in that game is you see a lot of things that will get corrected, right? Like it's the first game of the year. And I showed them, I believe it was 12 plays that I had selected that, unfortunately those players had to live them and learn from them. But now as players and as coaches, we can learn from them as well, right? You learn something on a daily basis. You can learn a lot of things to do or a lot of things not to do. And that's my mission, is just to continue to throw things at them and evolve. And as a head coach, that's something I've really learned now in the latter part of my head coaching career than I did on the front end. I didn't proactively educate near as much as I hope, as I now know I do. So that's probably the biggest thing as a head coach, is just you learn a lot by failure, right? You learn a lot by doing things and knowing that they could be done better. And that's the first thing you got to admit.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep.
Hey, Brett, what are a couple keys that you have for this season in order to be successful?
I think the standards of our program, right? If we can be a tough, smart, dependable group. I know it sounds like you guys are going to label it as coach speak, but our guys see it every day. Just like you guys see it. And when I get on the media session before I'm here, like, it's just something I believe in, right? If we're able to do that, and that breaks down to a higher level, right? Tough teams, right? Tough teams do three things. They run the ball, stop the run, and they cover kicks. Smart teams, right? They win the penalty game, right? They don't put themselves at a disadvantage through penalties and mental errors, right? And dependable is as coaches being dependable to your players, as players being dependable to our coaches, and as a team being dependable to our fan base, right? Like it's not just three words that we kind of talk about, throw out there. We live them. We incorporate it into our DNA. It's part of what we are, right? So that's a big one. And then, this whole keep stacking days, right? Like everybody's like, oh yeah, they're keep stacking days, right? Well, if you say it like that, that's the results you're going to get. But if you believe it, you understand it, you'll get to a place that you've never thought of before, right? It takes a while to get there, but you're never going to get there if you try to jump to the end. So we'll keep stacking days. We'll work on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week to get to Saturday against Nebraska. Saturday is going to play out as it's going to play out, right? Then we'll come into work on Sunday. We'll put the Nebraska game to bed. We'll start our preparation and communication to our players with the UTSA that we've already started. We'll take Monday off by NCAA rules. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we'll get ready for UTSA. We'll play the game on Saturday, play Saturday evening, and then we'll repeat the process again for Virginia. But the caveat there is we're going to go on the road, which is just a little bit different, but it's not a whole lot different, right? So that's what you do, right? That's the key. If you can get better at stacking days than your opponent, now you got a chance.
Bret, have you been ultimately satisfied with the maintenance program you've had with some of these veterans guys and their buy-in on with what you're trying to accomplish with that and what sounds like a relatively healthy camp?
Matt, it's probably proof of being the pudding, right? If next Saturday those guys play well, then we'll know we're on the right plan. I think physically, you can just see guys, I think, make improvement, right? They're not regressing, they're progressing. And I just heard from personal experience, right? I believe I had, some point in my career, I've had 6 knee surgeries, right? A couple ankles, a couple hands. Like if you have an injury or something that's caused an issue in the past and you aggravate it and it gets sore, it becomes sore and sore as you get further and further into the wear and tear. Whereas if you stay ahead of it, you don't let that threshold get in there and you can maintain it, stay practicing at a high level and stay healthy, you can play longer, better. And, it's probably something to ask those guys, but I would say this, right? We just had a nice tempo practice out on the field and it was good tempo. But tomorrow for our game day environment, we're going to be on the stadium turf, right? We're going to be wearing our game day uniforms, game day shoes, game day helmets, and hopefully they're going to play at a high level because their bodies are ready to play at a high level.
Thanks, Bret. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.